Chapter 1. Reincarnation. In the midnight winter, a deserted hospital room. Well, it wasn't entirely deserted. Enclosed by white walls, Ethan Smith lay on his hospital bed. He glanced at the clock. It was already 2 a.m., but he remained awake, his mind racing, desperate to make the most of the time he had left on hand. The rhythmic beeping of the heart monitor was almost hypnotic in the stillness of the night. It might sound nonsensical, but his life was that miserable. To survive in this cold and ruthless world, even the dying cling to moments that slip through their fingers like sand. The city outside was a labyrinth of indifference, and his small, sterile room was his final fortress against it. Ethan's life had always been filled with mystery and sadness. At the age of 6, his parents suddenly disappeared without a trace, leaving him utterly alone in a world that seemed to care little for the fate of one lost boy, though they left him a modest inheritance, managed by a child care law firm. It did little to fill the void their absence created. The money provided for his basic needs, but it couldn't shield him from the cruelty of the world. In school, he became an easy-to-bully target. The other students, perhaps sensing his vulnerability, bullied him relentlessly. They mocked him for his silence, for his loneliness, for the parents he no longer had. He endured their taunts in silence, retreating further into himself with each passing day. His only tranquility came from the pages of the novels. These stories offered him an escape, a way to forget about the torment and isolation he faced daily in reality. The heroes in these tales became his companions. Their courage and strength was the opposite reflection of his own fragile existence. He devoured books whenever he could, losing himself in worlds where anything was possible, where magic was real, and where he was alone. But just as he turned 16, life dealt him its final, cruel blow. He was diagnosed with terminal cancer. What started as a persistent fatigue and occasional dizziness soon spiraled into something much worse. His body grew weaker by the day. The cancer spread like wildfire, sapping his strength and leaving him a shadow of his former self. The once energetic boy was now bedridden, his frail form ravaged by the disease. His physical condition deteriorated rapidly. The cancer left him gaunt and pale, his skin stretched tightly over his bones. His once bright eyes grew dull, dark circles forming beneath them as sleep became increasingly elusive. Every breath was a struggle, his lungs burning with each inhale, and his chest felt as though it was being crushed under an invisible weight. The pain was a constant companion, gnawing at him day and night. Despite the agony and the hopelessness of his situation, Ethan found some measure of peace in his decision to donate all the inheritance money his parents had left him. He had no need for money anymore, and he made sure that it would be put to good use, perhaps to help other orphans like him, or to support those fighting battles as he had. Now, as he lay in the hospital bed, his head felt impossibly heavy, the room spinning around him. He considered calling the nurse for help, but the inevitability of his situation kept him silent. The pressure on his frail shoulders was immense, a constant reminder of the burden he could no longer bear. He glanced at the novel beside him, a book he had been trying to finish before his time ran out. It was his final story, the one he would never complete. Just a few more pages left, he thought, regretful that he would not see how the novel had ended. But the strength to continue began to leave him. His vision blurred as his eyelids grew heavy, the weight of the world pressing down on him. The pain that had haunted him for so long now seemed distant, replaced by a cold numbness that seeped into his bones. Looks like I really need a peaceful sleep now. Realizing the seriousness of his condition, he tried to shift his position, seeking comfort on this cold wintry night. The bed was an inviting oasis, and he settled back, hoping for some warmth. But it was already too late. He was already on his deathbed this time. With one last shuddering breath, Ethan Smith, a lonely boy who lived in books, left the world in a quiet, solitary way. The darkness enveloped him, a final, cold embrace, and the book beside him slipped from his grasp, its story left unfinished, much like his own. Ding. Congratulations. You can choose 3 unique skills for crossing the dimensional boundary. You are allowed to pick only one skill from each category below. Huh, what's this? Where am 17? As if waking from a bad dream, Ethan rubbed his eyes hard to clear the confusion. His heart pounded in his chest as he looked around. Frantically, I was just in the hospital room. How did I get here? He looked around in confusion. He was inside some kind of dark space, with no means of perception or communication. His voice wouldn't leave his throat. He couldn't hear his voice or anyone else's. The silence was absolute, oppressive. There was only a bright translucent panel in front of him. It looked like some kind of system panel. It was surreal, like something straight out of one of those fantasy novels. Basic skills: ultra smell, ultra hearing, ultra vision, speed boost, higher health regeneration, higher mana regeneration, appraisal basic, extra health, extra mana, 99 plus more. Mythic skills: dragon's hockey, dragon wings, fire, rapid cast, thought acceleration, blood berserker, skill absorption, mystic lord, body duplication, telekinesis, giant transformation, 99 plus more. Ultimate skills: black thunder king, rune of eternity undying, phoenix rebirth, space manipulation, universal synthesis, sacred body, destroyer body, dragon transformation, phoenix transformation, divine prison, astral summoning, demon transformation, 99 plus more. After looking at the system panel, Ethan felt ridiculous. This was like something out of a fantasy novel. He was very familiar with this kind of setting, given his background as a fantasy novel enthusiast. Does this mean I have died already? Or is it all just a dream? But it was too realistic to be a dream. Finding no other options, he focused on the system panel, where he was instructed to choose 3 skills. So, I just have to choose 3 skills out of these millions of options. **T. It's too hard. There are so many good skills, but why only 3? I want all of them. Nevertheless, he had to choose quickly, as time was running out. There was a timer in the corner of the system panel, counting down. Ominously, knowing the importance, he calmed his mind and read the descriptions of each skill to decide his path ahead. If he wanted a good life, a good skill combination was essential. He started reading the skill descriptions one after another, which took a lot of time. But, considering the importance, it was nothing. I chose this one, and lastly, this one. Finally, he picked his favorite combination. Confirmation received. You will receive your chosen skills after you are reincarnated into a random dimensional world. Hey, wait, I have some questions to ask. Hello. Before he could get any response, his vision turned black, and he remembered nothing after that. Initiating the reincarnation process. 0.1%, 11%, 59%, 100% complete.